Hi, I'm Karl Konrad. The business I started 23 years ago, Australian Immigration Law Services, has helped tens of thousands of people realise their dreams of migrating to Australia. And I'm here to pass on some of that knowledge and experience through these videos. The team of professionals here have over 50 years of experience between us, and we are always ready to assist those who need professional assistance. As many of us migrated or know loved ones who have, we understand firsthand what the journey is like. Do you know what a skill assessment is? Because you're probably going to need to get one if you're using your skills and experience to migrate here. The official term is skill assessment for migration purposes. They have very little use out there in the real world, and it's not particularly useful on your resume, but if it's required for your visa application for Australia, then they become a crucial document. In this video, I'll be explaining what a skill assessment actually is. Most of you wanting to immigrate to Australia will be applying for a skilled visa. This means that most of you will need to get a skill assessment. Let's unpack that. Firstly, what is a skill assessment? A skill assessment is a document you must provide to the Immigration Department that says you are skilled enough to perform the occupation you are nominating for the application of your visa. Before the notion of skill assessments were introduced with the introduction of the very old 136 and 138 visas, the Immigration Department were responsible in deciding if you were skilled in your occupation or not. Suffice to say that this was not a reliable procedure, with many case officers having no idea about certain occupations, and many mistakes were made. To rectify this situation, it was decided that certain professional bodies could be authorized to conduct these assessments, and in return they could charge money for the privilege. If there was no professional body for a particular occupation on the list, then a Melbourne-based company called VETASSES became responsible for the rest. Second, what is a skilled visa and which skilled visas require a skill assessment? You definitely need a skill assessment if you're applying for the points tested 189 or state 190 or regional 491 visas or the graduate stream 485 visa. You may need a skill assessment for the other employer-sponsored visas such as the 186, 482, 494 visas, depending upon numerous circumstances which are too complicated to cover today. If you're applying for the 189, 190 or 491 visa, you need to have the skill assessment document before you can submit an expression of interest on the skill select. So it is usually one of the first documents you need to secure a positive outcome for. Part of the questions you have to answer in your expression of interest include details you will not have unless you have your skill assessment. It's also an important place to start if your visa requires one, because if you don't obtain that suitable outcome, there is little point in proceeding to the next step, like spending hundreds of dollars for English test results. To get your skill assessment, you will need to apply to an assessing authority for your particular occupation. For example, ICT professionals need to apply to the Australian Computer Society. Accountant professionals have 3 options to choose from, which is actually unique: CPA, Chartered Accountants or IPA. Social workers to the Australian Association of Social Workers, and engineers to Engineers Australia. A large number of occupations are covered by VETASSESS, such as ambulance officer or marketing specialist, etc., etc. To find out which assessing authority you must apply to for your occupation, you can visit the Immigration Department's website, which outlines the occupation lists and the skill assessment body authorized for each occupation. You'll find a link to this in the description below. As there are hundreds of eligible occupations across the different visas, there cannot be a one-size-fits-all situation. As different occupations require different skill sets, and as such within an occupation group, there are different skill assessment requirements. For example, teachers have slightly differing skill assessment requirements depending on if they are primary, secondary, early childhood or special needs teachers. Most skill assessments are fairly simple if you have an official Australian registration license for your particular occupation. For example, when getting a skill assessment as a nurse, it will become a more straightforward process and you will have less documents to provide if you are already a registered nurse in Australia. If you are already a licensed architect, obtaining a skill assessment is also a fairly straightforward process. If you are a registered medical practitioner, then your registration is accepted as a skill assessment on its own. Other times there are internationally recognized professional accreditations that can make your application easier. Engineers applying for an Engineers Australia will be able to apply under accredited pathways if their course is completed in Australia, is accredited by Engineers Australia, or taken in a country that is covered by an engineering accord. Accountants too may benefit from professional accreditations gained overseas in the skill assessment process for Australia. In the ICT professions, there are numerous internationally recognized certifications in various IT-related applications that can assist as well. Nurses who are licensed in the UK, USA, Canada, and New Zealand, for example, also will find the skill assessment process easier. Other than requirements for your skill assessment being different based upon your occupation, there are sometimes different types of skill assessments offered as well. When applying for the Graduate 485 visa under the graduate stream, provisional skill assessments can be provided along with full assessments. These provisional assessments are easier to obtain and are often just based upon academic qualifications and in some cases limited workplace experience as well. For example, the provisional assessment as a chef from TRA Trade Recognition Australia for the graduate stream of the 485 visa requires an academic qualification and certain number of hours of supervised workplace activity. For an occupation where VETASSESS is the assessing authority, their provisional assessment is based purely upon an appropriate academic qualification and does not require work experience. These provisional skill assessments are only for the purposes of the 485 visa, and the skill assessment cannot be used later when applying for other skilled visas. You will need to get a full skill assessment for your nominated occupation for that purpose. Assessing authorities may offer other types of assessments for other visa purposes as well. For example, CPA Australia provides a skill employment assessment. VETASSESS has a qualification assessment and a points test advice. So be careful to apply for the correct assessment based upon your specific needs. Since the skill assessments are managed by the relevant assessing authorities, you will need to check on the application process for your occupation through their official websites. Skill assessments are a very costly business, and here's some examples why. A full skill assessment from VETASSESS will set you back $1,020. Engineers Australia charges $875 for the competency demonstration report application. CPA Australia charges $540. And the Australian Computer Society will cost you $500. If you're in a hurry, some assessing authorities offer fast-track or priority services for an extra fee. Surprise, surprise. VETASSESS offers this service for an additional $660. Engineers Australia's fast-track service will cost an additional $335. Did you find this helpful? Let us know in the comments and by liking and sharing this video. Subscribe for more videos like this too. If you need help, we offer Zoom, Skype and telephone consultations, and you can book an appointment to speak with us by going to australiavisa.com or just pick up the telephone. Thanks so much for being here today, and as always, take care out there, and I will see you next time. So bye for now.
Thank you.